Lewis Carroll, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Chapter 11. Who Stole the Tarts? The King and Queen of Hearts were sitting on their throne when they arrived. A big crowd was around them. There were many small birds and animals, and also all the cards. The knave was standing in front of them in chains. A soldier stood on each side of him to guard him. Near the king was the white rabbit. He had a trumpet in one hand and a scroll of paper in the other. In the middle of the court there was a table. On it was a large dish of tarts. They looked so good that Alice felt very hungry when she looked at them. I wish they would finish the trial, she thought, and give out the food. But it did not look like this would happen. So she began to look around her to pass the time. Alice had never been in a court before, but she had read about courts in books. She was happy that she knew the names of almost everything there. "That's the judge," she said to herself, "because of his big wig." The judge, by the way, was the king. He wore his crown over the wig. Look at the front picture if you want to see how he did it. He did not look comfortable at all, and it did not look nice on him. "And that's the jury box," thought Alice. "And those 12 creatures." She had to say creatures because some were animals and some were birds. "I think they are the jurors." She said this last word 2 or 3 times to herself because she was a bit proud of it. She thought, and she was right, that very few girls her age knew what it meant. Still, jury men would have been just as good. The 12 jurors were all writing very quickly on slates. "What are they doing?" Alice whispered to the griffin. "They cannot have anything to write yet, before the trial has started." "They are writing their names," the griffin whispered back, "so they do not forget them before the end of the trial." "Stupid things," Alice began in a loud, angry voice. But she stopped quickly, because the white rabbit shouted, "Silence in the court!" And the king put on his glasses and looked around, trying to see who was speaking. Alice could see, as if she was looking over their shoulders, that all the jurors were writing stupid things on their slates. She could even see that one of them did not know how to spell stupid, and he had to ask the person next to him. "Their slates will be in a nice mess before the trial is over," thought Alice. One of the jurors had a pencil that made a squeaking sound. Alice could not stand this, so she walked around the court and stood behind him. Soon she found a chance to take it away. She did it so quickly that the poor little juror, it was Bill the lizard, did not understand what happened to it. After he looked everywhere for it, he had to write with his finger for the rest of the day. This was not very useful, because it did not leave any mark on the slate. "Herald, read the accusation," said the king. The white rabbit blew the trumpet 3 times. Then he opened the parchment scroll and read this. "The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts, all on a summer day. The Knave of Hearts, he stole those tarts and took them all away." "Think about your verdict," the king said to the jury. "Not yet, not yet," the rabbit quickly interrupted. "There is still a lot to happen before that." "Call the first witness," said the king. The white rabbit blew the trumpet 3 times and called out, "First witness!" The first witness was the Hatter. He came in with a teacup in one hand and a piece of bread and butter in the other. "I beg your pardon, your majesty," he began, "for bringing these things in, but I had not finished my tea when I was called." "You should have finished," said the king. "When did you begin?" The Hatter looked at the March Hare, who had come into the court with him, arm in arm with the Dormouse. "The 14th of March, I think," he said. "15th," said the March Hare. "16th," added the Dormouse. "Write that down," the king said to the jury. The jury quickly wrote down all 3 dates on their slates. Then they added them together and changed the answer into money. "Take off your hat," the king said to the Hatter. "It is not mine," said the Hatter. "Stolen!" the king shouted, turning to the jury, who at once wrote this down. "I keep them to sell," the hatter explained. "I do not have any of my own. I am a hatter." Then the queen put on her glasses and started looking hard at the hatter. He became pale and nervous. "Give your evidence," said the king, "and do not be nervous, or I will have you executed at once." This did not help the witness at all. He kept moving from one foot to the other and looked nervously at the queen. In his confusion, he took a big bite of his teacup instead of the bread and butter. At that moment, Alice felt something very strange. It confused her a lot until she understood what it was. She was starting to grow bigger again. At first, she thought she would stand up and leave the court, but then she decided to stay where she was as long as there was space for her. "I wish you would not push me," said the dormouse, who was sitting next to her. "I can hardly breathe." "I cannot help it," said Alice very quietly. "I am growing." "You have no right to grow here," said the dormouse. "Do not talk nonsense," said Alice more bravely. "You are growing too." "Yes, but I grow at a normal speed," said the dormouse. "Not in that silly way." Then he stood up angrily and moved to the other side of the court. All this time the queen kept looking at the hatter. Just as the dormouse walked across the court, she said to one of the officers, "Bring me the list of the singers from the last concert." When the hatter heard this, he was so afraid that both his shoes fell off. "Give your evidence," the king said again angrily, "or I will have you executed, whether you are nervous or not." "I'm a poor man, your majesty," the hatter began in a shaking voice. "And I had not started my tea, not more than a week ago. And the bread and butter was getting very thin, and the tea was twinkling." "The twinkling of what?" said the king. "It started with the tea," the hatter answered. "Of course twinkling starts with tea," said the king sharply. "Do you think I am a fool? Go on." "I'm a poor man," the hatter continued, "and after that, everything began to twinkle." Only the March Hare said, "I didn't," the March Hare quickly interrupted. "You did," said the hatter. "I deny it," said the March Hare. "He denies it," said the king. "Leave that part out." "Well, anyway, the dormouse said," the hatter went on. He looked around nervously to see if the dormouse would deny it too, but the dormouse said nothing because he was fast asleep. "After that," the hatter continued, "I cut some more bread and butter." "But what did the dormouse say?" one of the jury asked. "I can't remember," said the hatter. "You must remember," said the king, "or I will have you executed." The unhappy hatter dropped his teacup and bread and butter and went down on one knee. "I'm a poor man, your majesty," he began. "You are a very poor speaker," said the king. Then one of the guinea pigs cheered, and the officers of the court quickly stopped it. This is a difficult word, so I will explain it. They had a big canvas bag, tied at the top with strings. They pushed the guinea pig inside, head first, and then sat on the bag. "I'm glad I saw that," thought Alice. "I have often read in newspapers, at the end of trials, there was some applause, but it was quickly stopped by the officers of the court. And I never understood it before." "If that is all you know, you may go down," the king said. "I can't go any lower," said the hatter. "I am already on the floor." "Then you may sit down," the king said. Then the other guinea pig cheered, and it was stopped too. "Well, that is the end of the guinea pigs," thought Alice. "Now things will go better." "I would like to finish my tea," said the hatter, looking nervously at the queen, who was reading the list of singers. "You may go," said the king. The hatter quickly left the court and did not even wait to put on his shoes. "And cut off his head outside," the queen added to one of the officers. But the hatter was already gone before the officer reached the door. "Call the next witness," said the king. The next witness was the Duchess's cook. She had a pepper box in her hand. Alice knew who it was even before she came into the court, because the people near the door all started sneezing at once. "Give your evidence," said the king. "I won't," said the cook. The king looked nervously at the white rabbit. The rabbit said quietly, "Your Majesty must ask this witness questions." "Well, if I must, I must," the king said sadly. He folded his arms and frowned at the cook until his eyes were almost closed. Then he said in a deep voice, "What are tarts made of?" "Mostly pepper," said the cook. "Treacle," said a sleepy voice behind her. "Catch that dormouse!" the queen shouted. "Cut off his head! Throw him out of the court! Stop him! Pinch him! Pull off his whiskers!" For a few minutes, the whole court was in confusion while they threw the dormouse out. By the time everything was calm again, the cook had disappeared. "Never mind," said the king, looking very relieved. "Call the next witness." Then he said quietly to the queen, "My dear, you must ask the next witness questions. It gives me a headache." Alice watched the white rabbit as he looked through the list. She was very curious to see what the next witness would be like. "They do not have much evidence yet," she said to herself. Imagine how surprised she was when the white rabbit called out in his high voice, "Alice!"